Welcome to Backstage with Kennedy. This little show will be your remedy. From Toronto, spanning across the sea. Cool people, lots of laughs. This is your favorite podcast.
Hi, my name's Kennedy from the Backstage with Kennedy podcast. I'm here with Mike from Bad Breed today. Awesome band. I can't say enough good about them. Lots of soul, lots of jazz, super eclectic sound. Some of the harmonies are fantastic. Definitely check them out. But I'm lucky to have Mike here. So we're gonna have a little talk about what the band's been up to, what they're going forward with, and just how life is, I guess. How you doing, Mike?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I think we're finally getting back to somewhat of normal life now. So I think we're in good shape.
That way. Yeah, I drive for a living. You know what I mean? So because there's no music. There's music happening, but there's no shows or anything like that. So yeah, man, I drive around the city all the time, and it's happening. People are outside. They're spilling out on the sidewalk, drinking, rocking, whatever. Beaches are full. So I don't know. Is that good? I don't know. But they're out there. Things are changing. Yeah, things are changing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, downtown's a crazy thing right now. I know you said that's where you're at right now, but downtown is interesting because I actually think I like it more the way it is now, not from a lack of music venues being open, because that's definitely not what I like, but from the perspective of you could walk down the street and there's open businesses doing delivery out the window. It's almost like a market. It's kind of cool, I think it brings people together.
No, I hear you on that point for sure. Like I was working like for the entire like lockdown part, and during those first few weeks, man, it was like a ghost town. Like there were a couple of days where the only thing I heard out the windows were like people in distress, like people without homes, like just like kind of screaming on street corners, and you didn't hear the cars, you didn't hear the subway, whatever. It was scary. So it's something's happening, man. So fingers crossed. That's all I'm saying.
Hopefully it's for the best.
That we're going in the right way.
Hopefully it's for the best. Mike, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm sure you hear it on a lot of interviews and stuff like that, but I do think it's very important with you, especially because of I listened through your music. I really enjoyed it. There is a lot of different sounds inside your band. Obviously, there's a bunch of people in your band that have different backgrounds in music. A lot of funk. What's your influences? What did you grow up listening to, and what kind of got you into music?
I was just thinking about it today, a little bit, just in thinking about that. I was going to start doing some interviews for this. Honestly, man, when I was little, we had a record player and we did not have a radio. You know what I mean? So there were like two records that I grew up listening to, and it was like the Irish Rovers, which is like this Irish folk band, and they sang Puff the Magic Dragon. And you know that song Bye Bye Miss American Pie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, whatever. That was it. I listened to those two songs. And then, when you go to school and people start talking about music, like you're in like the third grade, your third grade is different than my third grade, right? So I'm talking like 80s, right? So, and people would be in the hallway like, like AC/DC or whatever. And they were talking about stuff. Honestly, man, I was just like, what are they talking about? Like, what is this? So when I was 12, I asked for a radio for my birthday. And, and that was it. And then I found a rock station and I got into Led Zeppelin. So, that's where I started. And then when I was a little bit older, like, to make a long story short, I met like two people who were like so important in my life, and they were both into punk rock. I didn't even know what it was, man. Like I'd seen like clips on TV, like Filthy, Sex Pistols, like whatever, just stuff that was equating them with being like animals. And so I didn't even know what it was. I had two people who were one person showed me like the Clash and the Sex Pistols, and one person showed me the Stooges. And that from there, like that, I was like, now I need to like play music that's like this. So that's how I kind of start. That's where I started, was really with, was with Led Zeppelin and
Yeah.
and some punk rock. Yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting, especially how it has translated over. I mean, I find a lot of the guitar riffs are very technical. It almost like it sounded very technical when I heard it,
Yeah.
but yeah, very melodic. And I can see the technicality part maybe
Yeah.
being from the punk influence as well, you know?
Yeah, like the guitar player on the record, his name is Oscar Tang, and he's just an amazing guitar player. He devotes his life, honestly, to being like a blues guitar player. Like he's a
Okay.
guy who, and I like when I say this literally, he wakes up and like the guitar's in his hand. He goes to sleep with it in his hand. Like that's all he does. He plays in like a blues group in the city, and he's a beautiful, amazing guitar player. And yeah, he came out of punk as well. I
Yeah.
met him. I'm older than all the other people in the band. I met him. He was like a teenager, and I was in my early 20s playing in a band. And and he was like a kid, like I don't know, 13, 14-year-old kid, and he was like a
Wow.
guitar prodigy. And now, now he's like a devotee of the blues. So that you're hearing like thousands of hours of practicing on his couch. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, it was super nice. The harmonies. There is quite a few singers in your band.
There are. Yeah.
What made you decide to go that direction? Obviously, everybody likes a good harmony, but
Yeah.
that's different than your average band.
Yeah, well, you hear a lot of stuff like that in a lot of the music that I just grew to love. Like I said, I mean, I started with like rock and punk rock, and because you're
Yeah.
a kid and that's what you hear and that's what's exciting, and then you kind of start to hear, whatever it is you hear, reggae or like singing, like groups that harmonize a lot, like the Impressions,
Mhm.
Curtis Mayfield, and a lot of soul music. Like you said, like this band is hugely influenced by a lot of stuff, but a lot of it is soul music. And so suddenly I found myself like surrounded by people like who are great singers. Like our bass player, Mei Lin, comes from Cuba, but she's trained, like she can sing opera. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah.
Our synthesizer player, Catherine, was trained in musical theater. She can sing anything. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Maria, our keyboard player, is also a trained singer. I mean, I think she used to do like national anthems before like OHL games and stuff. You know what I mean?
That's wild. Yeah.
So I'm this guy who just more, for the most part, I taught myself kind of everything because that's just whatever. That was like punk rock, right? So, and now I'm with these people, and that's what I love about this, man. For me, it's working with all these people who are like superior to me musically in every way. So I might have the very beginning of the idea, but
Yeah.
like when you hand it to somebody else who's just like, oh, well, this is what I do, and then it's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're stacking your hands, right? So
Exactly.
you just like to build with people who are just great at what they do. And that's the other thing, like you said, everybody's so different. Like,
Yeah.
Mei Lin moved here from Cuba, I think in 2003, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, like we have never had to talk about punk rock. We have never had to talk about rock. She loves all kinds of stuff, but and we have some stuff in common, but that's the beauty of it. It's not like, I've been in bands, of course, before where it's like 3 guys, 5 guys, and we're all into the same thing. So you're going to
Genre.
kind
Yeah.
of sound like,
Mhm.
like, oh, we love the MC5 or we love the whatever it is, the Stooges. I've been in a band that really sounded like the Stooges because everybody was on board. And now it's kind of cool because you're talking a different language to people, and you don't have those kind of easy things to go, well, listen, you know how like blank does it on this song, because they don't know that. They might,
Exactly.
but chances are they don't. So it's cool, man. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, I find a lot of bands you can say, hey, they're in this genre.
Yeah.
I can't do that with you guys.
Yeah.
There's no way to narrow you
Yeah.
down to a genre, because
Yeah.
I got a nice little sneak peek of this album coming out, and I was really impressed because every song is very different.
Yeah.
Every
By
song
design.
has a
Yeah.
different flavor of whoever's in the band. There's a little bit of everybody in it, and it's like you infused it in there. It's beautiful. It's
Thanks, man.
beautiful.
I mean, that was truly, it was by design, putting it together, and it also it was really important because, once again, like, I don't play guitar or keyboards, right? So I can't write music. What I'm limited to is kind of my imagination, right? Which is limitless. So if if I would sit down with Catherine and hum something to her, because that's what I do. I hum. I have hundreds of notes on my, like, recordings on my phone of just like this riff, funk riff, rock riff, whatever. And I just say, okay, so I'm thinking this. And then, of course, when somebody actually does it on the piano or the bass or the guitar, it becomes different because, you're humming something and then suddenly it's this, right? So,
Exactly.
So some songs were written like I wrote like one song with the guitar player, a couple of songs with the synth player, one song with the bass. So everybody kind of gets to shine, and that's really important for me. It's also important that although I think you and I are talking right now because, I kind of put it together and I wrote the lyrics, etc. However, the idea is that it's kind of like, it's not really, there's no lead singer. It's, and like you said, song to song, it's like, if you're watching us live, it's like, oh, now I'm paying attention to this person. Now I'm paying attention, so I love the idea that it's like a cast of characters and we're all different,
Yeah, it's a nice little collaborative thing opposed to, sometimes you watch bands and the lead singer or whomever takes over and it's their show more or less, right? And that can sometimes create some stuff between the bandmates even where they're like,
it can.
Who is this dick? You know what I mean? But it's good that you don't have that.
Before, man. I've been that person and I've played with that person before. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I'm the lead singer, but like, again, I like doing this. Like, to me, this is like, for me, having been playing music, at various capacities since I was 12 years old. Like, this is kind of what it feels like I was. It sounds ridiculous to say born to do. I don't believe in that, but this is what I'm like. When I got together with this group of people, I was like, oh, this makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're so good at this and you're so good at this and you're so good. Oh my God. Okay. There's a million possibilities. And that's why you get, but but again, like, I mean, I don't think the songs are so different that, I mean, you're never going to hear us do like a pop punk song or we're not going to do a full on reggae or something. But I think, to answer your question, yes, it's all different. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the people who have not listened to the album yet, obviously they haven't at this point.
They have not. No.
Can you give a little bit of a brief on, I guess, what to expect from it, the release date on it, just so we can let the people know when they should be keeping an ear out for it?
For sure. July 17th, it comes out on all platforms. July, and I'll just make mention, this is July the 3rd, the first single officially comes out. We've got a video for it. It's for the first song on the album called War With Myself. So we've got those coming up, and I'll answer the rest of your question. I just want to mention something. We did a very small run of vinyl for this album. We did 100 copies. And what we're doing, rather than selling them, all we're asking for is and so there will be a free copy for any person who makes a charitable donation to whatever is important to you during this time of pandemic and revolution in the world. Whatever is important to you, the person who make a donation to anything. We'll make it very clear. Just send us the receipt, and I will get you a copy of our vinyl shipped free, etc. So that's just to get that out of the way. So we're doing that. Yeah. So that's just honestly, it's like the least that we can do is just to try to generate some revenue for things that need money, and there's no shortage of that right now.
Oh no.
No. And what do I expect? Yeah. Well, it's like you said. I listen. The record is essentially, it's not like it became kind of a concept record. It's very, very much so a story of kind of a year in my life. So it starts with War With Myself, and it's almost like you can take that very literally. It's about sort of starting a period of time where I was coming out of a lot of problems with depression and mental illness, and then I had to deal with, I dealt with the death of my partner who I'd been with for 30 years. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I lost a person who was just so close to me. Her name was Deb. She's the person who introduced me to punk rock.
Yep.
And so losing that person and kind of breaking out of this, that event was so traumatic that it broke me out of this, like, because I'd quit music basically. A few years ago, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And all the stuff you tell yourself when you're not feeling good about, I'm not good. It doesn't, whatever it is. So make a long story short, I was kind of thrown out of that and then back into music with all of these people as a way of like coming back into the world and almost coming back alive. And then
Yeah.
at this, later on down the line, I met a new person who I fell, deeply in love with. And so it's, it's a story of, coming out of loss and misery. And hopefully you get a sense of that, as well as I want people to feel the joy, some of the joy. If you can feel any of the joy that I felt, being able to kind of turn things around for myself, then, I hope that doesn't sound too cheesy, but that's what it is,
And you can feel it as the album progresses too. There's definitely, as I said before, different flavors. Like it shows also different emotions as well. Which I think is a really nice thing. I'm glad you painted that picture. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Thanks, man. Yeah. So that's the idea. I mean, I think, like when just for me personally, I know there's lots of groups that like say they like to use like irony in their lyrics, right? Or there's, and there's lots of people who are funny. I don't know who they are. I'm not a big fan of like funny music types, whatever, you know what I mean? Or irony in music. That's not for me. I think maybe that's why I gravitate a lot to like soul music, or, there's definitely like hilarious stuff in like Funkadelic and Parliament and stuff like that. But in soul music, it's kind of like a person saying what they mean to the listener. And I guess that's what I'm hoping you're going to get,
Exactly. It's an artistic release, right? It's how you release your emotions into a song, right?
Yeah.
I grew up being a big classic rock guy because of my dad.
Right on.
But blues became a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I want to say when I was like 17, 18 years old, my dad took me to my first blues concert. And from that day on, I've been
I'm just curious. What did you see?
Have you heard of Matt Anderson?
I have not. No.
I think he's a Canadian guy.
Okay. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Right on.
And
so
then it got me into everybody.
To get into blues. Yeah, man. Like that's cool. So, and you're still into that.
I listen to everything. But I definitely I think a lot of people around me are not necessarily as open to blues as I am, where I'm like, I love this. You know what I mean? There's a mood. There's a beautiful mood that comes with the blues.
There truly is. And I mean, and it's so much at the root of everything, it goes without saying, but it's at the root of funk and rock and jazz and everything. Right. So all those different things that are so, that make up the beautiful world of music. So, yeah.
So Mike, you're living in Toronto right now. You are from outside in Pickering. But let's narrow down on Toronto here.
Yeah.
What's your favorite music venue in Toronto? Where's Mike go?
Well, I mean, do you mean to play a show or to see a show?
We'll say both.
All right, man. I've had great, I love playing at the Horseshoe. I love the sound. I love the size of the room. I love Lee's Palace. I've played in the past, I've played great shows at Lee's Palace. Those are those are both great venues to see bands. And honestly, man, if it's a bigger thing, I love Massey Hall. Like you're talking about blues, I don't know. Do you know Buddy Guy?
Yep, absolutely.
Player, Buddy Guy. So, and he comes, he was supposed to be here in April. Obviously, he didn't make it this year. But, I've seen some, Massey Hall is just acoustically, whatever. I love that place, man. So there's a goal one day. Play there, So, But, so I love, there's a lot. We're lucky here, man. And I hope with all my heart that the majority of these venues get to stay open. You know what I mean? Like the big ones probably will. I've talked to, honestly, like I said, I drive for a living. I've picked up a few people who work in some of these nightclubs. And during that pandemic, man, there was a lot of fear of losing their nightclubs because of just that there's no revenue coming in. So, like I said, we're lucky here because it can be a great city for music, and I hope it continues to be.
And I was talking to a couple episodes with a band called Panic Problem from Baltimore. And they were talking about in Baltimore how it's neighborhoods, you know, like each neighborhood you go to, there's a different like style of music or genre of music that
Right.
really is bigger there. I don't feel like Toronto has that. I feel like Toronto as a whole is just, we have venues everywhere that do all kinds of different stuff incredibly well. And we're blessed. We're blessed.
We really are, man. And yeah, I was going to say that as you were describing, if that's the case in Baltimore, it may have been at one point here because, you know, obviously, like if you ever hear people talk about the 60s in Yorkville, that was all the hippie shit and, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, now I think we've got, it's an eclectic city. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So
oh, yeah.
I love this city. Yeah.
You can't go wrong with that. Well, Mike, maybe we'll grab a beer one day at the Horseshoe.
I'd love to.
I want to appreciate. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. Can I ask you a question before we go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you I was looking at some of your past episodes. I noticed that you had music from Chris Jericho's band Fozzy.
Yeah.
Do you like that, or do you like Chris Jericho? Are you a wrestling fan?
I do like wrestling. My roommate and I are big wrestling guys. We put it on the TV and we watch it. So we are Chris Jericho fans, but Fozzy is a good band.
Yeah, are you guys watching AEW and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. That took wrestling to the next level for me because I didn't really grow up with WCW. So AEW is like as close to it as I can get.
All right, man. Well, no, that's actually that's something that I used to work in. Like I used to work in pro wrestling for a while. And I'm not so big. I don't know. I've watched a little bit of the new stuff. But look up All Japan Pro Wrestling 1990s. It's honestly the best run of crazy matches that you'll ever see. Anyways, little thing. I just noticed you might like wrestling, so I thought I'd mention it. You were asking me something, where to find me.
Yeah, where can people find you on social media and stuff? I know you guys got Instagram. Where else can people find you?
Yeah, we're like at Bad Breed Band. We're on Facebook, you know, and we've got a website, you know, badbreedband.com, I think. Yes, badbreedband.com. So, yeah, we're in all those spots. And, yeah, so once again, the album's called Bad Breed in Ferocious Love. It comes out July 17th, and we will be doing lots of promotion, including this, prior to that, and our first video, July 3rd. But all of that will be in our social media.
Sick. I can't wait. Best of luck with all that. Stay safe out there, Mike. You take care, man.
Thank you very much. You too, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, man. Bye.